After 9/11, weapon and military budget are at record highs. Nuclear weapons, tanks, and drones are able to kill terrorists and war criminals without people even needing to be in the same country. A drone pilot can sit in the Pentagon and fire upon enemy compounds in Pakistan without even breaking a sweat. What it really comes down to is money and fear of others. It is a basic human instinct to be afraid of others, especially with weapons. The US is by far one of the most afraid and therefore angered countries in the world. General resentment among Americans also brings a heavy load among weapon development. The attitude of killing terrorists, or those who believe much differently than the US, has always been the correct course of action no matter what, but many times it has led to tremendous turmoil and unnecessary violence. The US mindset has allowed politicians to abuse the national defense budget, develop weapons capable of extreme killing, and hurt the economy. Weapons of this caliber have no useful purpose. Retaliation, revenge, and discrimination all stem from the concept of fear, and in return deliver a massive punch to the whole of the US. Back in 1884, Hiram Stevens created the Maxim gun, the first machine gun capable of slaughtering thousands. During World War II, tactics such as poison gas, like chlorine gas, barbed wire, landmines, dogfights, and submarines, including the first snipers, were invented. This fear is evident throughout the American people, as we can see with this speech.
There can be no peace in the world until the military power of Japan is destroyed, with the same completeness as was the power of the European dictators. To do that, we are now engaged in the process of deploying millions of our armed forces against Japan in a mass movement of troops and supplies and weapons over 14,000 miles, a military and naval feat unequaled in all history. Substantial portions of Japan's key industrial centers have been leveled to the ground in a series of record incendiary raids. What has already happened to Tokyo will happen to every Japanese city whose industries feed the Japanese war machine.
The US government today has the largest military budget in the world at 42% of the world's military expenditure. The US saw an 81% increase since the past year and has spent over $698 billion. In perspective to the rest of the world, this is 6 times that of China and more than the top 10 countries combined. President George W. Bush was able to produce a war against terrorism based off the general consensus of attitude against those who could kill thousands of innocent people. In his speech given on 9/11, Bush was able to harness the fear and hatred and put it to use. Thousands of soldiers were put into action by blaming Osama bin Laden for the deadly acts of terrorism. By 2002, 40% of the US Predator drones had been crashed or lost, and many fire upon the wrong targets, and today 40% of our Air Force is trained to fly drones instead of planes. The Navy receives over a billion in extra funds just for maintenance work and developing planes, giving it the world's second largest air force behind the US Air Force. Although the end of the Iraq War and the reduction of troops in Afghanistan lowered the 2012 military budget by $32 billion, Obama and Congress continue to battle over the situation. Even during the incoming peacetime, the military budget is expected to be higher than almost all of US history. Economically, the US has proven that the effects of the war have not disrupted the economy extremely until in 1970, during the tie of the Vietnam War, it left the economy stagnated. The US, ever since World War I, has really been seen as a world power, and the effect that increasing military spending has on this reputation is harsh. The common enemy and goal of the US has always been its drive to produce more weapons and be better than other nations. During the Reagan administration from 1981 to 1989, the Strategic Defense Initiative (SDI) launched an attack on intercontinental USSR nuclear missiles. The effect of a strong economy has proven by the Reagan administration to show just what the strategy of spending a country to the ground can produce. A well-off economy has proved to be one of the most powerful weapons of all, as it allowed Reagan to eventually end the Cold War. Up until 1996, the visible costs of nuclear development are 5.821 trillion, more spent on Medicare and veterans benefits since 1940. Today, the U.S. wants to keep this reputation up and become the model for other nations. Amidst other foreign affairs, the appearance of a strong nation is crucial to President Obama and our citizens. Decreasing military budget for the fiscal year 2013 to $613.9 billion is a controversial step in the right direction for the U.S., who was involved in the worst economic downturn since the Depression, which we got out of due to a stimulus in the economy from entering World War II. While the weather of the economy has a large influence on the development of weapons, it is evident that a stable economy is what allows for development. Advances from the technologic sector have provided expert scientists the ability to harness this work for the Army. Countries with the most advanced warfare technology have ultimately decided the outcome of every major war. We can see the advancements over time, from wooden-framed airplanes in World War I to the UAV drones we see today, where they are remote-controlled war machines. A single round from an 8-inch artillery weapon today has the same power as a 250-pound bomb from World War II. Range has increased over 600% from this time period, and today automated weapons can lock onto targets in 15 seconds compared to 6 minutes in World War II. Unmanned weaponry and satellite technology have been the main game changers, with note to nuclear weaponry, of course, which today is becoming less useful. These Predator drones today for the US, specifically the MQ-1 Predator, have had a large part in recent wars against terrorism. These planes, at $5 million apiece, allow us to get intelligence without any physical risk. Although decreasing, stats show 2,781 kills of militant leaders of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban from 2004 to 2012 in Pakistan. While this may seem like progress, hundreds of civilians are killed during these attacks, a shocking ratio for many. In a speech by President Obama, the death of bin Laden marked the end of a 10-year era and a start of a new hopeful time. What the U.S. has expressed from this achievement was not limiting the advances in technology. Technologic advances are the things that cannot be controlled by the military and will continue to grow no matter if Al-Qaeda has taken a hit or the war has ended. The evidence and history of the U.S. warfare has proven that a stable economy, extremely large military budget, mental fortitude, and the most advanced technology offers a high return of victory. The reputation that the U.S. has is one that is becoming increasingly hard to maintain as a world power. With a budget well over $600 billion, with cuts in sight and a deficit stacked trillions of dollars high, the balance between the two is a large controversy for Obama and Congress. The human elements of fear and revenge will continue to untie and drive much of the U.S. to the point of war, costing more money, jobs, lives, and to the overall well-being of the country. Eventually, the amounting deficits will push the U.S. aside to let another country step into power. For now, recreating a stable economy will be the biggest weapon for the U.S. and will allow for many more victories diplomatically and, if it comes to it, militarily.